So I was thinking about this idea of logic and reason, um, and how uh, like in the beginning of early modern philosophy, there are basically two schools of thought in philosophy, which are basically two epistemologies. One of which was the rationalism of Descartes, which tried to derive reality from first principles. Then there was the empiricism of John Locke, which sought to derive reality from experience. And it's interesting to me that both these were basically theistic movements. Descartes kind of used the ontological argument for God to kind of get himself out of this solipsistic doubt of his. Well, John Locke appealed to God as sort of the source of these natural rights. In a sense, if you're looking for which philosophy was more, which one was more secular, it would probably be John Locke, more so than Descartes. And so I find it interesting that many unreflective atheists will talk about reason as being juxtaposed against religion. Religious people have their faith, but we atheists, we have reason on our side. But in fact, reason has been a major feature of theistic philosophy and religion. There's a very important term in Christianity which is not used often enough, and that's called the logos. When in the Gospel of John it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." When it says "word," the actual Greek word is logos. In the beginning was the logos, and the logos was with God, and the logos was God. Now, logos referred to sort of the reason of the universe. The universe followed a certain logic in its creation. There was a certain eros, as Whitehead or Campbell would put it. That it followed in terms of bringing us towards higher awareness, higher realization of value. And that Jesus and what the Gospel of John does with that verse is explicitly named Jesus as the embodiment of that logos. Jesus was the embodiment of that universal reason. So I think reason can and should be a major part of religion and faith. I think that unfortunately many people feel like the scientific method, like science, has kind of explained away religion. And I think it's explained away a lot of more primitive understandings of religion, but I think the faith community should not shy away from reason. I think that reason doesn't may lead us away from certain more primitive understandings of our faith, but does not necessarily lead us away from faith itself. I think faith can be fully compatible with reason, and can be compatible with empiricism. If you look at the mystical traditions, they come to know the sacred through empiricism, through inner empiricism, what William James calls radical empiricism. You know, examining one's own being and one's own by looking into one's own self, one finds truth. And so, in a sense, the two, both can lead us towards the sacred. And I find it interesting, actually, that some of the biggest philosophical doubters of reason have been atheists. David Hume is a huge one. So it'd be Nietzsche. Yeah, he, yeah, then down to Foucault, and I never really understood what the sort of spiritual persuasion of Derrida was, but there's certainly a lot of that as well. Yeah, and so there, and so I feel like there's this misconception that reason and empiricism are incompatible with faith, and that sentiment is kind of mutually shared by both those who are against religion and faith, and those who are for it. And it's unfortunately created a sort of dichotomy that need not exist. That we can have a faith community that follows reason and empiricism. And I guess the philosopher who was most responsible for trying to bring the two together was Kant. He tried to bring together the rationalist and the empiricist philosophy. And in a sense, I think Whitehead kind of inverted Kant's synthesis and synthesized those aspects of each that Kant kind of had discarded in trying to synthesize the two. But anyway, yeah, I guess I like what Kim Wilber talks about when he says talks about pre-rational versus trans-rational. In a sense, I mean, to get truly to the mystical heart of everything, you need to transcend what we ordinarily call reason. But there's also but you also have to get to the rational in order to get to the trans-rational. You have to kind of fully master reason in order to get beyond reason, because otherwise you're just reverting back to a pre-rational state. And so I guess that's my thoughts for now. Peace.